So it is at 6,000. I don't know about that.
So what's your advice? Send them to a consulting firm or look for government or a special district?
I think he needs to get his feet wet and get some variety. And, but he already was talking about grad school. But I told him that's on you. You need to work.
Yeah, I think it's better to go to work and then decide what to do in grad school. I think.
Because I was telling him, when you work, you might find out that you really love something.
Right.
More.
So you can specialize.
I know a lot of schools, I mean, if you go to grad school, you can do it at night.
Yeah, that's what I was
I did mine at night. Yeah. Send them to Loyola Maryland.
I was talking to Ed Torres about that. That's where you went, right?
That I did my master's there. And so did Caesar.
He has an interest in water, so
yeah. They have an awesome water program. Right. Or environmental engineering.
Hi, all. Thank you so much for your patience. I sent Norma Miter out to help Lori to make sure she can get connected.
What was the engineering tech? No, not the AIDS. Have you got something that works?
Not the confirmation on it yet. I'll reach out to Mario again. I know you reached out to Waldo, and that's what it was last week. So I'll follow up with the interviews on next week.
For the aid?
For the aid. Today,
okay.
Today and tomorrow are the interviews for the tech. And then next week, 2 days, it's going to be for the aid. So I think after 4:45 is just going to see the recap and all of that.
Hello, Janelle. I am. I had to come through the link that Lori gave us. Didn't work, and so I went back to the public one through that was on with the agenda, and that got me. Yeah, that's got me into the meeting. Right now, I'm looking at Novell and William, and I don't know who the third woman is. That's all.
That'll be a huge help.
Oh, I know.
I am muted. I cannot talk. Hello.
Hi, Carl. We could all hear you, Carl.
Okay. Yeah, they can hear me now. Very good. No, we got through out of the meeting because they were working on it. Let me mute my stuff here so I don't bother them. Yeah, so what I did, I went in Lori's first item where it said to go through. Yeah, I went through that and I hit on Zoom on that one, and it brought me into the meeting. But there was no code that they needed to use or anything of that nature.
Nabil, can we start the meeting?
Yes, let's see, where is Lori?
I think we're good now. So we're gonna go ahead and start.
Go ahead,
Oh.
Chair.
It's on the phone. Just a moment.
Okay. Welcome to everyone. This is the
Gary?
May 11th meeting of ETAC. My name is Janelle McLaughlin. I'm the chair of the Environmental Transportation Commission. We have a new member and a new commissioner today. And Nabil, would you be so kind to introduce our Dorian Romero?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, commissioners and any visitors attending our visual ETAC meeting today. First, I would like to acknowledge our past ETAC commissioners, Dr. Lawrence Klein, for his years of service to Santa Ana on the ETAC. Now, I would like to introduce Dorian Romero, who is a council member.
Nabil, am I the only one that can't hear him? He's echoing, Michelle.
His volume is low, Janelle, you're correct.
I can hear him, but it's very soft.
Correct.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're very soft.
Correct.
Okay, let me see what I can do here. Okay. All right. So, good evening, commissioners and any visitors attending our virtual ETAC meeting today. First, I would like to acknowledge our past ETAC commissioner, Dr. Lawrence Klein, for his years of service on ETAC. Now, I would like to introduce Dorian Romero, who is a council member's Lopez's new ETAC appointee. Commissioner Romero, would you please say a few words about yourself? And what's the commitment?
Okay, I'm going to interrupt right now. There is nothing that can be heard. It sounds like a conversation that's echoing. Nothing is clear.
Can you hear me still? No. Yeah.
I can hear you, Nabil, but very softly.
Yeah, Nabil, I can hear you very clearly on my end. I think just the volume needs to be pushed up on the users.
Maybe you need to stand closer to the mic to the microphone.
I'm back in, sorry.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So welcome to the May 11th ETAC meeting. I would like to introduce Commissioner Dorian Romero, who is the council members Lopez appointee to ETAC. Commissioner Dorian, are you there?
Hi, yes.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and let us tell us something about you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here, and thanks for welcoming me, Nabil. I can hear you pretty well. My apologies. I live by a loud street, so you might hear some cars, but my name is Dorian Romero. I work for an organization called Santa Ana Active Streets, and that's how I found out about this position. Jesse Lopez reached out to us, and from me and the project director, I was the one that was available. But if you haven't heard of our organization, we do focus on bicyclists and pedestrian safety in the city. So we do workshops, we do educational classes, we do bike rides, we do walk assessments and things like that. So by being here, I'm hoping to learn what the dialogue is here, engage with all of you here. I'm sure everybody has different roles in the city. So just hoping to listen, learn, and share our knowledge together to make our city better.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Excuse me, Nabil, by the way, now I can hear you and I'm back on, so thank you.
Good to see you, Gary. Chair, go ahead. Let's see.
I believe she may be having trouble with her audio. Is that correct, Janelle? Nod your head, yes or no. Okay, just a moment, please. And that might be why she couldn't hear you properly earlier. Thank you.
I haven't worked with it, but we work
Yeah,
with
she appears to be muted right now.
we're definitely a group of-
All right, so can
There
you
you
hear
go.
now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're all good now.
We're like one of those commercials.
Thank you, Dorian. I hope to meet you to the side because I missed your introduction, but welcome. Would all the other commissioners like to introduce themselves?
Yes, this is Carl Benninger, and I've been put on by Phil Becerra.
Good afternoon.
And-
This is
Excellent.
Commissioner Wood, Ward 1, put on by Councilwoman Finn.
Hi, hello, my name is Tanya Navarro. I'm the mayoral candidate appointee.
Mr. Vasquez? Mr. Germain?
Can't hear you.
Hello, there we go. My name is Brian Germain. Good early evening. I was appointed by Councilwoman Nelita Mendoza out of Ward 6.
Since I'm having difficult with my audio, have we got a quorum and everybody's introduced themselves? Lori?
Wow.
I need to contact Commissioner Vasquez. He was trying to get on earlier. He was on and then was kicked off. So after I take roll call, I'll go ahead and give him a call. So welcome to everybody. I'm going to go ahead and take roll call. Nancy Sandoval Vailon, she requested an excused absence, if you recall. Chair McLaughlin. And is Carl Benninger present?
Yes, present.
Brian Germain?
Yes, present.
Dorian Romero?
Yes, present.
Gary Wood?
Yes, excuse me, yes, present.
Janelle McLaughlin? and Tanya Navarro.
Present.
Yes, present.
If we can withhold the roll call a few minutes and excuse Nancy Sandoval Bailon's absence. Commissioner Vasquez is pending. So if you can go ahead, please, and make a motion to start the meeting with excusing Commissioner Sandoval Bailon and pending Commissioner Vasquez. If you can make a motion, one of you, to.
I will make that motion. I will make that motion.
Okay, for items from the consent calendar 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm going to go ahead and I really need to get some instructions out on the way the public can access this virtual meeting. It's being live streamed via the City of Santa Ana portal at www.santahannah.primegov.com/public/portal. If you'd like to provide a public comment, you may do so on the City of Santa Ana portal that I just repeated, www.santahannah.primegov.com/public/portal. The opportunity to speak is going to follow this comment, and if you'd like to speak, please select the Zoom hand icon to let us know if you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the name you entered. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and we will alert you when your time is up. So, Chair McLaughlin, if you'd like to move on to public comments, because I don't see any speakers that are pending for public comments.
Lori, can we do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Thank you. Chair McLaughlin?
Yes. Carl, would you be so kind to do the Pledge of Allegiance, sir?
Okay, everyone please follow me, hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So who moved to for the consent calendar? Was that Carl?
Yes, it was. I need a second on that though.
Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Germain, second.
Commissioner Germain, great, thank you. There was a motion and a second to approve consent calendar items 1 through 3. Thank you, everybody. And I'm going to contact Commissioner Vasquez. Janelle?
I would like to leave this meeting, and if Lori or Nabil could handle the meeting, the feedback that is happening is creating a migraine for me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Janelle. Okay. So you're going to be excused from this meeting.
So this is all, everybody has been sent this. It's printed. You can print it out. And I say goodbye to you and thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. Okay, so moving on to the business calendar. We're going to go ahead and introduce Assistant City Attorney John Funk. And John Funk will conduct the training. I'm going to go ahead and make John Funk one of the presenters. Just a moment.
Should have access.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is John Funk. As was indicated earlier, I'm an assistant city attorney here in Santa Ana. First of all, if I'm asked, can everyone hear me adequately?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you should be seeing on your screen the slide presentation, the printed materials for which you have, which were distributed to you earlier as well. Does everyone see that on their screen, the slide deck or the beginnings of it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Laura, if I could just confirm, I know, unfortunately, Chair McLaughlin had to step away, but I just did want to confirm that the meeting is still at quorum level.
John, I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, pardon me for I certainly don't want to belabor the point, but I just wanted to make sure.
We are, according to the names on the screen, we are still at quorum right now.
Okay, thank you. Well, again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Funk. I am the assistant city attorney here in Santa Ana, who is assigned to the Public Works Agency as their legal advisor. And in that capacity, from time to time, I'm asked to attend ETAC meetings when appropriate. And today is one of those times. Nabil had kindly asked me to conduct some training that we routinely offer for ETAC when it reconstitutes itself, so to speak, after an election. So some of you, I believe, may have been through this training before. Some of you may be new, but in any event, I hope that you'll find it helpful today. And if there are any questions, I'll say at the outset, please feel free to interject. I'm certainly comfortable with that style. I certainly want to make sure that you get the most out of it. And that's true for either my colleagues on the line or for the commissioners as well. So I want to start with a brief history of ETAC. ETAC turns 30 this year, as a matter of fact. It was established by the City Council in the year 1991. So you are part of a long, rich tradition here at the city with your service. ETAC is part of the city's system of boards, commissions, and committees. The system provides a way for residents in the city who have special experience or interest to participate in the decision-making process by advising the council on issues that might be very specialized or issues where those individuals have expertise. Effective last year, the C in ETAC is now for commission. Some of you may be aware that before it had stood for committee, but by ordinance that took effect last year, ETAC is now known as the Advisory Transportation Advisory Commission.
John, your screen is not moving.
Oh, is it moving now?
No.
You need to put it in like slideshow, go to like from current slide. Just go to current slide on your toolbar.
So do you see the brief history of ETAC now or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's not in slideshow mode.
Okay. I thought I had put it in slideshow, but forgive me.
There you go, boss.
How about now?
You're getting there. Yes, I guess.
Okay.
Let's see.
Did it change now?
John, I think what it is that you're sharing perhaps the wrong monitor or the wrong screen. So if you want to stop sharing and then try to share again.
How about this? Okay. Okay, let me I will attempt to reshare. Forgive me.
No, you're good.
Let me bring up one thing quickly. I don't want to waste people's time, but I do have a time limit today. I'm doing the lacrosse game at Mater Dei, and I need to leave at 5. Is that going to throw us out of quorum? Lori? Or Nobel?
We'll have 6. We'll have 6 people present.
Okay, good. So I can leave at 5. Okay.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. Lori, is it possible for you? I know you have the presentation. Can you was it possible for you to share it? I want to be respectful of everyone's time, including Commissioner Henninger's.
We'll have 5 people present after Carl leaves, so we'll still have a quorum. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the presentation. Just a moment, please.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for being so patient.
No worries.
You want me to bring it up in PDF or PowerPoint?
Just whatever is easy for you. I just certainly, you know, as long as the commissioners are able to see the slides.
Okay. Can you all see this?
No.
No.
How about that?
I see you. I actually think John had it, but
Click on the second slide, John. Try that.
Okay. Are we here now?
We see your first slide.
who's controlling it?
I am on my end and I'm advancing the slides and in the slideshow feature itself, but for some reason it's not
Displaying. In the slideshow, it's still on slide 1, and it does show the next 2 and 3 slides.
John, can I suggest that at the very bottom where you have 96% on your PowerPoint slide, it has a little image. It looks like a screen with the line down below. If you click on that.
96%. I'm not.
Next to 90.
It's a lower right, John.
Okay, yes.
Okay, and click on, so if you move your mouse over to the little image, it looks like a screen with the line. It's a rectangle.
Yes.
Okay, if you click on that, it should, no, further to the left of the 96% over, right there. Well, right there, that's the one.
How about now?
Wow.
Yeah, it's not showing.
No.
Can you just maybe manually do it where it shows on the left side? Go to click on each one and it'll pop up. Like right now, you're clicked on slide 1. If you go to slide 2 on the left column and click on it.
Yeah. Email it to me. I'm going to send it to Daisy, but thank you.
Did you see the slide called ETAC membership right now?
It's
no. Did you get it, Daisy?
The first one. Yeah. Commissioners, please apologize. I certainly want to be respectful of everyone's time, and for some reason it's not broadcasting from my end. Maybe Daisy, if you can give us a hand.
If you could stop sharing your screen so that I can go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Daisy.
Okay, I can see that, Daisy. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you again. Thank you for your patience, commissioners. This slide, I think we briefly reviewed. ETAC turns 30 this year. You're part of a very rich tradition here at the city. Last year, the C in ETAC became known as commission instead of committee. So hence, I will be addressing you all as commissioners, please know. Let's go to the next slide, please. ETAC consists of 9 members / commissioners who are residents of the city. They are appointed, removed, and their terms are governed by our municipal code, the sections of which appear on the slide here. The 9 members may include 1 representative each from the Chamber of Commerce and from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Nabil, I think at this point in time, at least one of those positions is vacant, if I recall correctly. Yes?
That's correct.
Yes. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. ETAC's relationship with council. You may be aware that ETAC, like all our commissions, boards, and committees, serve in an advisory role. That means that the commission makes recommendations to the city council, but the council has the final say. Stated differently, the commission may recommend policy, but the council makes the policy. You're all been selected for your expertise and experience in environmental and in transportation matters, and so the council values your advice on those matters and looks for direction and recommendations from the commission in that regard. The duties themselves, the advisory duties of ETAC, are actually outlined in our municipal code, which is section 2555, but I very briefly excerpted them here on this slide. And they are twofold. Advising the city council in the study, review, and recommendations regarding the removal, planning, replanting, or disposition of public trees in the public right-of-way. And second, advising the city council in the study, review, and recommendations related to transportation and streetscape matters. Those are the duties as they appear in our code itself. Some attributes of an effective commission member that I've just put here. Balanced, level-headed, practical, understands the community, public process, doesn't have a conflict of interest, not tied to any special interests, and almost most important, a sincere desire to be engaged. Engaged commissioners make great communities. You're all here because you've exhibited a very high level of engagement to the community, and your input is valued on the matters before ETAC. So I have no doubt that everyone here will be a very effective commission member, in other words. The commissioners have a relationship with staff. Staff works with the commission. As you can see here today, we have several staff members, the executive director and his colleagues, but staff is accountable to the city manager. It's not generally within the commission's authority to direct staff's work, but they certainly interact with staff and can seek input from staff and ask questions from staff. If you have any recommendations you wish to share, those can always be shared with the council members who are appointed to you, who appointed you. From time to time, you will receive briefings by staff, which are perfectly permissible. Though they can have implications under a state law known as the Brown Act that I'm going to discuss in a few minutes. Here I've listed the general meeting format for business items that you will encounter when action items are before ETAC. And I'll just go over them real briefly. I know our chair is not with us, but I know she knows this sequence well and takes the commission through it regularly when there are action items before the commission. The first step is that she'll announce the agenda item and clearly state the subject. The next commission will hear any public comment if it hasn't already been heard at the top of the agenda, or any presentation by staff on the item. In order to actually put the item before the commission for action, the chair will often invite a motion on the item and announces the name of the member making a motion. That motion is a request that the commission take action, for example, to approve a certain item. That motion will ordinarily require a second by another member before it can be voted upon by the full commission. If there's no second, the motion may not proceed, I should add as well, but pretty routinely, there'll be a second to a motion. And if there is a second, the chair will often restate the motion and preside over the debate by the members. The chair will usually recognize the members before they speak and will customarily provide all the members a chance to input and provide their comments on the motion before the commission. After all have spoken, the chair will oftentimes ask if there's any further comment, and if there's not, the motion will then move to the commission for a formal vote. That vote is typically a roll call vote, and each commissioner will be asked to state their vote, which is either yes, no, or an abstention if the commissioner, respective commissioner, has abstained from the item. The chair will announce the result of the vote, and if there's any clarification that she needs from the individual member, she'll seek that. The motion carries or is approved if there are more than 1/2 of members in the yes category. Otherwise, it will not move forward and it fails. So the motion carries by an affirmative vote of 1/2 of the members. A majority, in other words. As you saw tonight, there is something called the consent calendar on each agenda. And the consent calendar consists of items that are typically enacted by a single motion without any discussion. They're typically very routine items, such as the approval of the minutes or the excuse or the recommended excuse of a member who is absent. In other words, items that typically don't engender or require a lot of discussion, and they're moved on a summary basis. And that consent calendar will usually precede the business calendar. A motion for reconsideration is something that you may run across from time to time. It really only can be made by a member who voted with the majority for the first time. Say if he or she has changed their position or view and wishes for the commission to take up the matter again. That person on the prevailing side can make a motion for reconsideration to have the matter reviewed again by the commission. We can move to the next slide, Daisy, thanks. Amending motions. As I stated before, typically a member will move the item, make a motion to put something before the commission for action. There may be on occasion a member who wishes to amend that motion, to add something to that motion, subtract something to that motion, and that member will usually ask aloud if the maker of the motion is amenable to a friendly amendment, is what you'll often hear it called. And if the maker of the motion is, then the motion will proceed as amended. What governs the conduct of the meetings most specifically are the bylaws, the ETAC bylaws, and they govern how meetings are conducted, much of which I'm reviewing today. They include the meeting times for ETAC. The ordinance or the bylaws themselves are actually established by an ordinance. The latest version was approved by the City Council in 2017. There are, I believe, some revisions pending right now that William Galvez, the city engineer, I believe, is working on, William. I know I've been assisting you with that, but those bylaws are first considered by ETAC, which I think you may have already done with respect to the revised version, and then they are forwarded on to the City Council for approval. If any of you need additional copies, they can be obtained from the recording secretary, from Lori, or any one of us here at the city. Those bylaws are essentially how the commission conducts itself, and they are like the governing rules and procedures for the commission. All ETAC meetings are open and public, and I say open and public in quotations because that really is the intent of a state law called the Ralph M. Brown Act. That state law requires local government meetings to be conducted openly and publicly with very, very few exceptions. Transparency is the goal. This is the people's business, the business of the public. The rationale is that all that business must be conducted in the public rather than behind closed doors or in any way away from the public. The Brown Act, as I'll refer to it as, it applies to all governing bodies of local agencies, all city councils, and any commission, committee, or board that is created by the city council. In this instance, ETAC. What it does not apply to is a temporary committee with less than a quorum, often known as an ad hoc committee, a committee established for a certain purpose. And in that event, the Brown Act does not typically apply. So for example, if 3 members of ETAC were appointed to study a special subject or evaluate a very specific subject matter, and it was less than a quorum of ETAC, the Brown Act does not necessarily apply to the meetings of that ad hoc committee. The Brown Act is simply put very good public policy, at least in my view, and I think the view of many others. California, like many other states, has concluded there's much more to be gained than lost by conducting public business in the open. Even if sometimes the perception that government behind closed doors is viewed as more efficient, the opposite perception is really that there is more to be gained than lost. Oftentimes things done behind closed doors are not necessarily viewed as trustworthy either. And here, by engaging in the public's business in a very public way, everything is clear for the members of the public to see. The Brown Act requires certain floor values, foundational values, and it really is a floor though and not a ceiling. The city will always err on the side of transparency in conducting its business. I know when I am asked to consult on matters regarding the Brown Act and what it allows and what it doesn't allow, my default position is always that it should be done as publicly as possible, whatever the action item is. So what is a meeting? I said earlier, the Brown Act governs meetings. And I think most of us typically think as a meeting as a gathering of members to discuss city business. I know with the pandemic, meetings have taken on a very different character and dimension here at the city. Like most local agencies and government agencies, they've been conducted virtually. That is still a meeting. A meeting is any gathering of a majority of the members of a body to discuss city business or potential city business. And that's exactly what we're doing here today, albeit in a virtual format. Any meeting always requires notice, an agenda, and a period for public comment. Those are the 3 basic requirements for a meeting. And unless it falls into one of the rare exceptions, a meeting will be subject to all the requirements of the Brown Act. So is it just face-to-face gatherings only? Well, I think as evidenced by our gathering today, no, it's not. That's typically what we think of a meeting, at least most commonly pre-COVID. But meetings under the Brown Act are not limited to face-to-face gathering and can include any communications or devices, say email, through which a majority of the body discusses and takes action on business. There are some exceptions to the Brown Act, and the one exception you may run across most commonly is that it does not apply to an individual contact between a member of the body and any other person, say between yourself and a staff member. For example, Chair McLaughlin might have a need to discuss something with Executive Director Saba. And when she does that, that is not considered a meeting subject to the open and public requirements of the Brown Act. But one must be a bit careful because there's certain things that are done on an individual basis that can actually amount to a meeting, depending on how they're done. They typically involve email, and I'll explain that in the next slide. So the Brown Act has this concept of a serial meeting. And under the Brown Act, a majority of the members can't use another device, another medium to take action on an item that they normally wouldn't take action on in, say, a more traditional or an ordinary meeting. And there's a couple ways that can be done, as I alluded to earlier. And it's really through, you'll see it most often through email. There's 2 scenarios. What I've listed here is the daisy chain and the hub and spoke. And it can be done by phone too as well. But the point is that you're not all in the same room discussing a matter of city business. You're taking these steps individually and sequentially. So let's take, for example, in the daisy chain scenario, member A contacts member B contacts member C, until a quorum has discussed and taken action on an item. So while it hasn't been concurrently in real time with the majority of the members, A to B, B to C, and C to D has in effect developed a concurrence on a certain matter. And if a decision has been made and action was taken, that will be considered a meeting, even though it's not traditionally having been done in real time with everybody present. That is prohibited by the Brown Act. Another scenario that violates the Brown Act is what I call here the hub and spoke. When, say, member A sequentially contacts members B, C, and D and shares that idea with the majority of his or her commissioners, and in doing so develops a consensus on a matter of city business. And that, again, is something that cannot be done or that method cannot be used to develop a concurrence or a decision on a matter of city business that should ordinarily be taking place in an open and public setting like we are here today. I can tell you that in my experience that I don't raise these matters because I see these things with ETAC, please know. They are things to be aware of, however. The Brown Act is taken very seriously in California, and we here at the city, take our obligation to educate our commissioners about the Brown Act. But please know that in raising these scenarios and advising against them, it's not because I see them routinely occur with ETAC or really anywhere else here at the city. We take our duty very seriously to comply with the Brown Act. And I know Daisy Gomez, our clerk of the council, is on the line with us, and I think that you would concur with that. Okay. Communications with staff, and let's go to the next slide. Actually, I think that we've covered that a little bit. So there are some other exceptions to Brown Act, or in other words, what is not a meeting? I said earlier, your individual contacts with city staff, that will not be considered a meeting subject to a Brown Act. There are some other carve-outs or exceptions, if you will, and I listed them here. When you attend a seminar or conference that's open to the public and of general interest, you're not at a city meeting. When you attend a community meeting that's open and publicized, that's not a meeting. Social, ceremonial occasions, that's not a meeting. However, what can turn any one of these scenarios into a meeting covered by the Brown Act is when the majority of the commissioners are present and they discuss city business. So for example, if the majority of you find yourself at a seminar or conference around a table, which is perfectly fine, but if talk turns to a matter of city business or potential city business, that's where there could be a violation of the Brown Act, because you would be discussing a matter of city business and potentially making a decision on that outside of a regularly noticed meeting. So with email, to avoid any Brown Act violations, it's best to avoid sending emails to the whole commission, and if necessary, just provide information only and don't solicit a response. Be careful in replying to them. Typically, you don't want to communicate your position and reply to a majority of the commission, because then again, that creates a scenario where a majority of the members are discussing an item and potentially deciding upon it outside of a regularly noticed and agendized meeting. Some requirements for that notice and agenda. For our regular meetings, Santa Ana requires that those agendas be posted 96 hours in advance. For any special meetings, which are typically limited to one topic or a topic that may need to be discussed outside of the regular meeting cycle, those agendas have to come out a day before. And each agenda must have a general description of the item of business. It's normally not more than 20 words, but it should be succinct and clear enough for the public to understand. Okay. Discussion of non-agenda items. Typically speaking, the only items that may be discussed in a meeting are those that appear on the posted agenda. As like, for example, today, this training session that we're in right now was agendized and is properly the topic of discussion at today's meeting. If the item does not appear on the agenda, it ordinarily cannot be discussed. There are some exceptions here that I've laid out. You don't see them too frequently, but they're typically when there's a subject matter, something that has arisen since the publication of the agenda, and a majority of the commissioners, or 2/3, decide that there is a need to take immediate action on that item, and it did not come to the attention of them before the agenda was published. But these exceptions are pretty rare. Typically speaking, the only items that are available for discussion at a meeting are those on the published agenda. There's some more exceptions here that can be discussed. And public comments, you members may briefly respond to those public comments or questions and provide a reference to staff or the resources. You can report on your own activities. You may request staff to report back to you on any matter. But again, this is really all one-way communication, and these aren't substantive matters as agenda items are. Public participation is as keystone to any meeting here at the city. The Brown Act requires 2 types of public comment periods. One is a general audience public comment, during which the public may comment on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. This typically comes at the top of each meeting. The other type of public comment is that type of comment that is specific to a certain agenda item. Those comments usually must be heard prior to consideration of the item, so all the commissioners can have the benefit of hearing that before they vote on it. Okay. Just a brief note on closed sessions. I know we're getting near the time when Commissioner Henninger, I believe, needs to leave us, and so I'll be brief about this. I said earlier that typically speaking, all items of city business must be done openly and publicly in front of the public and in real time. There are some limited exceptions. Those are called closed sessions. ETAC typically doesn't have closed sessions, but just for your benefit, I will tell you that a closed session is a meeting of a legislative body that's conducted outside of the public and in private, only on very sensitive topics. For example, personnel is considered one you'll see very frequently discussed in closed session. That takes place outside of the public's view. There are some ways the Brown Act can be enforced. Again, I rarely see anything even coming close to a Brown Act violation here at the city, very thankfully, I might add. But there are ways in which the members of the public can enforce the Brown Act, and that typically is putting the body on notice of what he or she sees as a Brown Act violation, and then allowing the city to correct that violation before that individual, for example, takes any legal action. That's on my next slide, but I'm kind of cutting to the chase there. Essentially, a written demand must be made on the city within 90 days after the person alleging the violation thinks that it has occurred, and the city is given a chance to correct itself. So there's this type of do-over, if you will, that the city gets before being subjected to litigation. The Brown Act, again, I rarely see violations, if ever, here. I think in my 6.5 years at the city, I've only seen just a very few even allegations that the Brown Act has been violated. Criminal liability is a possibility, but it's very rare. And I don't even mention it to scare anybody either. So we can go through the next slide. You have these in front of you. If there are any questions about Brown Act violations, I'm happy to address them. But in the interest of time, I think that it's probably more important to move on to social media. I put a couple things here about social media that at this time probably everyone is aware of. These are just some of the basics I think to keep in mind when we're using social media. The city itself has an interest and an expectation in deciding what is spoken on behalf of the city on social media sites controlled by the city, and it controls those sites. For other sites, if you ever find yourself posting and speaking about matters affecting the city, if you identify yourself as an ETAC member, you should clarify that the opinions expressed are your own and not necessarily the city's or ETAC's. These are some other general guidelines about social media. As we all know, what we write and what we post on social media stays there, and there's certain things to avoid, as I say here on this slide. And most important, I will tell you that the law last year was modernized. The Brown Act was modernized to keep up with social media. It was clarified to state exactly when members of local agency bodies can use social media to engage with the public. And there's a few guidelines here I've distilled from that law. First, you may use social media to answer questions, provide information to the public, or solicit information from the public. There are a couple caveats, however. Well, I stated that we just go back to that slide for a second. What you cannot do is use social media to discuss among yourselves items of city business. Again, that starts to look more like a meeting if you're using social media to share your views with a majority of members. You also can't use social media to respond directly to any communication made by a fellow member on social media about city business. Granted, this can mean things like the use of emojis, a thumbs up, a like. The point here is to avoid that type of serial meeting or collective meeting that can be accomplished through electronic communications and really add up to what is a meeting and what is a discussion that should be taking place in a traditional meeting or one that is noticed and agendized for the public. And last but not least, thank you. Again, you're part of a very rich tradition here at the city, a 30-year-old one, I might add. Enjoy your time as a commissioner as you render very valuable service to the city and the community of Santa Ana. If there's any questions or comments, I'm happy to take them either now or at a later time through staff if they arise. But I hope you found this helpful.
Thank you, John. I will take.
I think I've come in the time limit for at least one of our commissioners. So,
thank you, John. Would like to. Any of the commissioners have any of the questions? If you do, please state your name and ask the question. John, you've done a good job.
Well, I thank you all for your time and attention. I might add that city staff runs is Executive Director Saba and Lori and all my colleagues at Public Works. I know are very skilled at conducting the ETAC meetings. And again, should you have any questions for me, you're certainly you're welcome to go through them, and they'll bring to my attention. I'll be happy to address them. But in the meantime, thanks again for your time and attention, and thank you again for your service.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
This ends our portion of business calendar. I'm going to move on to the comments from staff and commissioners. As far as the staff, I don't have any comments right now, but I do want to apologize for the technical difficulties that we had tonight, and I would like to see that this improved in the future, and hopefully will run a much smoother meeting in the times to come. With that, I'd like to see if there's any of the commissioners that would like to make any comments. The floor is open.
I believe there is one staff comment, Nabil, from Michelle McAuliffe.
Okay. I'm sorry, Michelle. Michelle has a comment. Go ahead.
Thank you, Nabil. Hi, ETAC commissioners and staff. My name is Michelle McAuliffe. I am with the Public Works team, and I just wanted to remind all of you about our Public Works Community Town Hall virtual meeting tomorrow night, Wednesday, May 12th at 5:30 p.m. We hope that you'll participate and learn about the various departments in our Public Works agency. Plus, we have a song performance from our Public Works inspirational singer.
Well, we do. Thank you, Michelle.
This is Lori again. I'm sorry. I'll go ahead and send you all a meeting flyer in case you haven't already heard on social media.
Thank you, Lori.
Sounds good. Any of the commissioners who would like to contribute or add to this meeting? Any comments? You want me to call on you? Let's see, Gary, do you have anything to say to us?
Thank you, Mr. Saba. Three things. I wanted to thank Mr. Funk for the presentation. There's a lot of great information, especially related to social media. Even though I've gone through it a couple of times, a lot of new things you've covered. Thank you. Also, Mr. Galvez, thank you for the reply on the traffic issues that I routed to the city. I'm glad, the first one is with you on the Alton Fairview question, and also that the city is looking at the in and out issue on Bristol. And lastly, to Mr. Saba, I think the graffiti removal team hit a new record today, because I reported a large piece of graffiti on Greenville at 11:43 a.m. and it was closed at 12:14 p.m. So what is that, 30 minutes? So very impressive. Not sure if they were driving by, but thank you for the fast response.
Thank you for that. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Wood. Next, I'm going to call into Elizabeth Rubio. Elizabeth, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
She's staff, Nabil.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, the wrong Elizabeth. What do I have? I'm sorry about that. Nancy.
No worries.
Sorry, Nancy, is Nancy there?
Nancy is absent today, but we still do have Dorian Romero.
Yes, Dorian.
And Tanya Navarro.
I'll go. John, thanks for the presentation. You did a good job. And I'm relieved that my first meeting was an educational meeting, because I was a little nervous. But yeah, I'm looking forward to coming again next month.
Thank you, Dorian. Welcome aboard. And then I have Brian, Mr. Germain.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually have comments and questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
First, my first comment is congratulations to Dorian Romero, Commissioner, to the ETAC. Congratulations on that. I myself came on about a year ago, and it's nice to see that these meetings are taking place now, because it took about 9 or 10 months due to the pandemic to get these up and rolling. But since then, it's a great board to be on. So congratulations. Also, my other comment is that with the just as Commissioner Gary Wood was mentioning earlier in regards to reporting an issue with graffiti. I actually tried it out my first time there in Park Santiago, and it's very, very easy to use off of the app. So it was a great program. So I like to voice that as well behind Gary. It's a great app for residents to report an issue. And thank you for that. But the questions I guess I have would be with the block beautification program. Do we have an update as far as how we're going to proceed with that? Is that something that's going to pick up next month as far as continuing from last month's discussion? And then, yeah, and I'll just leave it at that. So.
Sure. Thank you for the question. And I would like to see if Michelle can answer that. She has good news for us. Go ahead,
Thank you. Yes, we have great news. We received our first entry to the neighborhood block beautification contest today. And it was a block in Park Santiago that has 40 neighbors, and 37 of the 40 neighbors participated in the block contest. And the deadline for the contest is Friday, May 21st at 5 p.m. So there's still time to receive additional entries. And then in June, we'll review with the ETAC commissioners the standards for the grading standard for judging the entries. And we do have that established. There is a matrix that you'll reference.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the question. That was great.
Then next is Commissioner Navarro. Are you there? Tanya.
Hi, hello, yes.
Hello.
So my first comment, I just want to welcome Dorian, welcome. And also I just want to say thank you for the presentation, specifically the social media portion. That's something that I definitely needed some guidance with. So I'm grateful again for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I have Mr. Vasquez, Commissioner Vasquez.
Hi there, Commissioner Vasquez. I wanted to thank again Mr. Funk for giving us a little orientation regarding ETAC. As a new member to ETAC, I really like having just all this information just so I can know what exactly is it that we can do and how we can help improve our city. And as well, I want to welcome our new commissioner, Dorian Romero, to ETAC as well.
Thank you. That concludes our commissioner's comments. We can move to the next item, which is future agenda items or for future meetings. Do any of you would like to suggest an item for the future? Any future items? What do you like to see, or what do you like for us to present to you or bring forward?
If I could jump in.
Sure.
This is only my second meeting, so I'm relatively new as well. So apologies, I forgot to welcome the new Commissioner Romero. Sorry about that. In the past meetings, has this commission received an update since on the use of the 1% tax increase on what roads are being improved and what priorities might exist? I'm not sure if that's something that could fall under our purveyance to have an update, but I certainly get a lot of questions from the residents in Ward 1 on when certain parts of the ward are going to be improved. So is that something that has been brought up before and presented, or could we have a presentation on that?
Commissioner Woods, thank you for the question. The city has a dedicated Measure X commission that does discuss and make recommendations to the city council on Measure X fund use. I think that would be the better commission to maybe approach for more specifics on the use of the funds for public works projects. But let me think about this and see if ETAC can bring an update for you on the use of Measure X. But again, the fuller picture is to approach the Measure X commissioners for maybe a full picture of the spending of Measure X funds.
Okay, and there's no need to recreate something for us. I mean, there's a commission or a oversight committee that exists. That's where I'll reference the residents to. Thank you. I'm going to reserve my other topic for the next meeting, which has to do with graffiti. So I'll pass to the other commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Dorian, do you want to add something to the next commission meeting, or you like to see something about bicycle lanes or anything like that?
There is a topic that we've discussed before in my organization. It is illegal to ride a skateboard on the sidewalk in the city, and there are a lot of youth who use skateboards, and we would like to bring up the discussion of decriminalizing skateboarding because it is a form of transportation, and a lot of youth do use skateboards. So maybe that could be a topic.
Okay, will do. We'll see how we do with this one. I am not familiar with it myself, but we'll do our homework and we'll bring it forward, not necessarily next commission meeting, but maybe in future ones. Is that okay with you? Sounds good. Thank you. Anyone else? I'm not looking for work, but if there's anything you need to discuss or for us to bring forward, you can reach out to the chair, McLaughlin, and let her know of your interest, and we can take it from there. With that, ends our ETAC meeting for May 11th. I'd like to thank you again, and Commissioner Donny, welcome aboard, and great to see everyone. I'm hoping that in the future we will meet in person. But with this, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, everybody. Nabil,
Yeah.
I believe we wanted to remind everybody that next month in June, we're scheduled to have elections of chair and vice chair. So
Right.
you'll be selecting chair and vice chair next month, along with the regular items on the ETAC agenda. Okay. So be thinking about your nominations and whether you'd like to volunteer. You can also nominate yourself if you wish. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, good evening to everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great